Hey there, I'm Laura.
I'm Stevie.
We are the Laura MacDonald team. You're supposed to say it with me.
Oh, I am. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And we are the Laura MacDonald team.
Welcome to St. Louis Today Table Talk, where our experts cover the state of the St. Louis real estate marketplace. Our special guest today is Jim Dohr, president of Coldwell Banker Gundaker. Jim is a 40-year St. Louis real estate veteran and highly respected leader of the #1 St. Louis real estate company. St. Louis Today Table Talk is hosted by the Laura MacDonald team. Laura MacDonald and Stephanie, also known as Stevie Kelsey. Congratulations on the new partnership. Joining Today Table Talk is Traci Everman, Vice President of Mortgage Lending at Guaranteed Rate. And now, here's Laura.
Well, I'm so excited to have this moment for the four of us to sit around and talk about the market. I think everyone is intrigued. What is the market? You hear from the media, you hear from the realtors, but we thought, let's bring Mr. Jim Dohr straight to the sources and help us understand what your vision is, where you see it. And then Traci, of course, piggyback on that, Miss Finance Guru, you.
Yeah, so big question today, or these days, is where are mortgage rates headed? And I will say this, that what we're experiencing right now is absolutely history, right? Been at this 21 years, never thought that we would see a 2 in front of a 30-year fixed mortgage, but we've certainly seen that over the last several months. And, you know, this week in particular is going to be a pretty big week where mortgage rates are concerned. I think it's going to set the tone with, you know, what people can borrow at going into the next several months and possibly the future ahead of us. I mean, we can elaborate on that if you guys want to.
What was the big event that you had mentioned?
So this week, it's actually a light week economically. There's not a lot of economic news.
Yeah.
And the first thing to understand is, where do mortgage rates come from? Okay, and mortgage rates come from the bond market. And whatever's going on in the bond market is typically the opposite of what's going on with the stock market. You know, when there's good news, money is going to go towards stocks. Like, hey, all these companies are doing really well and the economy is doing really well, so let's go invest money and make more money. So that's good news. But when there's bad news, money is going to shift towards bonds because it's a safer, nice and boring investment. And so when money shifts over to bonds, that's when mortgage rates fall. And of course, there's more to it than just that. But just, you know, to understand that's what's going on. But then there's also treasuries. You know, U.S. Treasuries. And what we saw last February of 2020, when the pandemic hit, the second week of February, Treasuries were at a level of 1.6, just to give you some perspective, 1.6. And then very quickly, by the end of the month, as the pandemic entered, Treasuries just plummeted and have just been, you know, fighting to make their way back up. Well, we're now at a level this week in particular, where treasuries might get back up to more normal levels, and that in turn will shift money out of bonds, force interest rates up. And this week there is a $126 billion treasury auction, specifically because we just had a $1.9 trillion stimulus package for the economy pass, and that has to be funded. And so the appetite, I know this is like all economic crazy dork stuff, you know, but I dig into that. But the appetite of these investors and how they react to this treasury auction is really going to set the tone for interest rates heading into the next 2-3 weeks, and certainly the next 2 or 3 months. However, I do think interest rates will remain low, meaning these low levels, for the first quarter and second quarter of the year. Just maybe not everybody's going to get a 2 in front of a 30-year fixed mortgage. So there you have it.
There you go.
And Jim, I work Coldwell Banker Blue just for you.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Wonderful. You're on the team. We're partners.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Jim, what do you think? What do you see?
Well, you know, this has been an incredible year and a half or so. It feels like 10 years. But when COVID hit, our business dropped 55% overnight. 55%. And to put that in perspective, when you go back to the Great Recession that lasted for about 4 years or so, from 2007 to 2011, it took 4 years for our business to drop 55%.
Wow.
And so we did that in one day. And, you know, it was a scary time. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but we were hoping for a check mark shaped recovery where it would drop quickly and then come back with a vengeance, and that's exactly what happened. So we've seen a tremendous amount of demand, and it's really fueled by, as Traci said, low interest rates.
Absolutely.
When you talk about rates in the twos, that's really fueling an incredible amount of demand that was already existing, but it's just incredible. So we saw what was normally a slowdown in the fall not occur. So we have seasonality in our business. It's usually slow around the holidays. Not the case. We rolled right through the fourth quarter. In January, business is still red hot. The biggest impact, though, is low inventory, low listing inventory.
Yes.
We are at record lows. A year ago, our inventory was down 30 or 40% from the previous year coming into 2020. Coming into 2021, it's down another 40%.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So that's the challenge, that there's a lot of demand, but trying to find a property to purchase and getting in competition.
Yes.
And you deal with that every single day, being in competition with multiple contracts and situations. It's really an interesting time to be in residential real estate.
So where do you see the next several months heading as far as the real estate market? You think it's going to still stay robust?
Yeah, I really
A
do.
crystal ball question.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict because, things can change in a hurry, especially because our industry is subject to external influences. And it's so dependent upon consumer confidence. But with rates as low as they are, and nobody knows where they're headed, but I'll just quote one individual, Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He's saying that rates should stay around 3% on average for the entire year of 2021. So there'll be ups and downs. Traci talked about this being a very important week, and it is, but we don't expect rates to vary too much from 3%, and that's still incredibly low. So I think for the foreseeable future, the demand is still there. Inventory is the one headwind that our industry is facing, though. Business would be even more robust. We'd be doing more sales if we had more to sell.
Absolutely.
And again, you deal with that every single day.
Yes, we do. We do. Heck, I remember we've been in this industry for over 32 years. And when I first got into real estate market, the interest rate fixed 30-year was 9.5. And, I've seen it fluctuate from 9.5 now to 2 and then fluctuate back and forth. And it's really that consumer confidence. And we really need to illustrate to them that it's safe to put their house on the market because we can get it sold for the highest price. I mean, what a great position for a seller to be in right now.
Right. I think low interest rates have really caused some people to say, you know what, I'm going to refinance and stay right where I am. So while low interest rates have really fueled demand for people who want to move or first-time buyers, it's also held us back because a lot of people are saying, you know what, I think I'll just refinance and stay right where I am, and I'll spend some money I've been saving on improvements to my house.
Yes.
And that's really causing the inventory to be even lower than it might otherwise be. And you mentioned interest rates. You go back to 2006. I've been around a long time, but 2006 was really one of the best years in the history of real estate.
6.5.
Rates were 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5%. But there is a mindset in the consumer today, of the consumer, and they are not. Most people forget that rates were ever that high.
Right.
They think 6%. There is no way that rates could ever be 6%. I bought my first house many moons ago, and it was 10%, and I thought I had a great deal.
I had the 1-year ARM at 15.
Right. So
and it wasn't too long ago, and I'm talking 2018.
Right.
The fall of 2018, because the economy was strong and doing so well, and so money shifted out of bonds and into stocks because the economy was doing well. I mean, we saw 5% interest rates going into the fourth quarter of 2018, so it's even not that long ago.
Right.
But you're right, Jim. I mean, people have been conditioned to think that anything over a 4% or 5% interest rate is like,
Right.
And you touched on the number of people that have refinanced and they decided to stay in their house, and we talked about this earlier today. The good news is I think so many people are actually cutting term, which I always strongly advise, cutting to that 15-year mortgage. So there's so many people with a 15-year mortgage right now that they are paying down a principal so aggressively that 3 years from now they're gonna be like, well, hey, I don't owe very much on my house, now it's time to sell. But the inventory right now, do you see a solution?
I really don't. I mean, this is the normal. this is our new normal. But I
Yeah.
say new, we've been dealing with this for 3 or 4
Yeah.
years. But we are at record lows. But I don't see anything out there that I can point to that's going to cause this to change dramatically.
New construction?
Well, I was gonna say, what about new construction?
help?
Yeah.
I mean, new construction always helps. I think builders have more confidence than they've had in a
Of
long
course,
time.
Yeah.
But one thing they're dealing with is they're trying hard to keep their prices down, and that's very difficult. Lumber prices have shot through the roof.
Yes.
It's a tariff issue and it's political in some cases, but they were dealing with incredible increases in raw materials, specifically lumber, but other areas as well, other commodities, and they're trying to deal with that and keep their price affordable. Because new homes generally are more expensive than existing homes, not always, but and it's also how quickly can they get enough inventory on the market to satisfy the demand. And the demand is so high relative to the inventory of existing homes that they really can't build them fast enough. And so it's a solution. It's a great solution. Anyone who's looking should be looking at new construction if that's an interest of theirs. But that's not going to be enough to solve the inventory problem because it's so severe right now.
Absolutely, and especially in the West County, even the Central Corridor, it's become so landlocked that new construction is really pushing out to Wentzville, further
Westward
west, and so
expansion,
forth.
yeah.
So it all depends. Are you willing to do your trade-off? Are you willing to make that commute? Or are you willing to pay really the premium dollar for a lot in this corridor?
That's right. And the cost, tear downs are very popular. They have been for a long time, but when you factor in the cost to tear it down and pay, a discounted price because it's a tear down, but then the builder factors that into his cost. The cost of a tear down build is, much higher than what someone would pay if they were going to a subdivision. And most of the subdivisions tend to be farther out. Not all.
Right.
There's some infill situations closer in, but those are more rare, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've seen where a tear down technically should be a third of your cost on your construction budget. And a lot of people don't realize, well, we'll tear it down, but you have to think about environmental.
Yes.
You have to think about all the things that play into removing that house, the sewer, the gas lines and so forth. So there's much more cost involved than just a simple wipe the house and start all over.
Well, the issue too is time.
Yes,
Some
absolutely.
people need to move quickly. They may have a family who want to get their kids in a certain school district. And, a tear down requires a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and takes time.
And
So not
patience.
everyone's, and patience, and not everyone's in that position. They want to move more quickly in some cases, so that's a problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Stevie, what's your thoughts?
Well, I guess I'm mostly concerned, and just because we work with a lot of clients that have one to buy and one to sell, is that are you seeing, as far as your professional opinion, as far as the price point that's getting hit the hardest? Because I don't feel like there's, other than maybe a high-end luxury home, but I could be mistaken about that. So.
Well, the sweet spot, I think, in the market is between 150 and 350.
Yes.
That's where the
I see
inventory is
that.
the tightest. And, you could debate all day long, is that the right range? But
Right.
you get the idea. Although we see demand at all price points, but that's certainly the sweet spot in terms of interest, demand, and the lowest inventory. So what we've seen as a result is prices are going up like never before in the St. Louis market. So last year, for instance, depending upon where you were, St. Louis County, St. Charles, the city, or Jefferson County, it ranged from maybe 8.5% increase in price in St. Charles County to over 11% in the city. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Not since 0506.
The average sale price in St. Louis County and in St. Charles County for single-family detached homes was over $300,000 for the first time ever, and that's pretty high.
Right.
That's pretty high. We've seen prices go up consistently, 3% a year maybe. But when you have 8 to 11%, 8.5 to 11%, that's a challenge. There are a lot of people who want to buy, and all of a sudden they're on the outside looking in because they can't afford to make that leap. Although low interest rates have offset that
Right.
to some extent because people can buy more house than ever before.
Exactly.
The great thing about St. Louis, though, is that it's so affordable. Because when you compare the pricing here in St. Louis, okay, so at $300,000 average, let's say, in St. Louis County and St. Charles County, less in the city, less in Jefferson County. But that's still incredibly affordable. When you compare the coastal markets, even Chicago, not too far away, Minneapolis, other markets, they're much higher.
Well, we both
Then,
came from Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, we both
Yes.
just
Right.
came back from Texas. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
and perfect example. You're so point on about that because I had a house in the DFW corridor that was priced about $319, 1732 square footage, no basement, but the taxes were about $10,000. You come
Uh-huh.
over here and it's a whole different ballgame.
Even right across the river in Illinois, the
Yes.
taxes.
It's amazing.
Are
So
significantly
you're
higher.
right. It makes it so affordable to live here.
Well, I love these top 10 lists. They're on the internet. You know, they slice and dice
Yeah.
statistics every which way. But no matter how you slice and dice it, the cost of purchasing a home in the St. Louis metro area and then owning a home because of relatively affordable property taxes, St. Louis always ranks in the top 5 and often number 1 in the entire country in terms of affordability. So we're in a great spot here. It's a great place to buy or sell, but it's certainly it's becoming more costly than ever before. So anyone who's on the fence should get in the market right away.
Definitely. It's a major win.
Right.
Major win.
And I think our biggest challenge is, like we were talking about before, is that couple and that family that have one to sell first and then one to buy. Can you talk to me a little bit about what are the financing options for some of those tricky deals that are out there?
Wow. Okay. So, whenever we have a homeowner that needs to sell and then buy, okay, a move-up buyer, typically they're moving up. They're
Yes, ma'am.
selling the smaller home, moving to the big home, you know, to have more space for the kids or the new school district or what have you.
Right.
And there's lots of different ways to skin a cat. I tell everybody, you know, you've got plan A, B, C, or D.
Right.
Okay. Plan A is list my house, sell my house, go buy the new house and close on the same day. Okay. Very rarely does that
doesn't happen anymore.
because when they're moving on to that next house and that seller has 5 contracts, the last thing they want to do is accept a contingent
Correct.
offer, meaning I want to buy your house, but it's contingent on me selling my house. So that's plan A. Very rarely works. Plan B, which is very suitable, is if they qualify for both mortgages. Okay, just financially they qualify. They can still get the pre-approval on the new house and not have to sell the old house. Then they can go out, find the new house, and then decide when they want to sell, you know, the house that they're moving from. So that's the most ideal situation because then they don't have to write a contingency. And in that, I like that scenario a lot if people can qualify, carry on both mortgages, because at guaranteed rate specifically, we can recast their mortgage, meaning they buy their new house with whatever down payment they want to put down, but then when they sell this house and make proceeds, they can just restructure their mortgage just like that.
That's
okay?
what we did with Eric, remember? We
Yeah,
restructured
so
it.
do a recast mortgage.
Yep.
Plan C is I'm going to list my house and I'm going to sell it really quick, because I always tell everybody you're going to sell your house in either 3 hours or 3 days in certain price ranges here. Sell your house, find somewhere alternative to live, and if that means living with family for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or what have you, then take your time finding the next property and you don't have to write a contingency. You know, which is nice, and because people don't want to feel rushed in this situation where I got to sell a house, but oh my gosh, I gotta go find a new house really quick. And I tell them, you're not buying a pair of jeans, you're not buying a pair of tennis shoes. It's a big investment. So that's plan C, is buy the new house and then sell the old house either right away, or you know, move comfortably. You know, it's convenient for sure. And then plan D, you know, there are bridge loans that are available out there. Not every lender writes bridge loans. In my opinion, bridge loans are quite expensive.
Yes.
But then again, you pay for convenience. And so a bridge loan is where you just take out a loan for, you know, the money that's stuck in this house until you sell it. And then you use that money for the down payment on the new house, and you can finance some of these mortgage payments as well. And then, you know, you buy one and just sell this whenever it's ready.
So I need to add plan E.
Plan E, okay, we're gonna get the whole alphabet on options to sell a house and buy a house. Plan E.
So, perfect scenario. Our clients, we got them to purchase a condo. We put their house on the market. We had over 50 people through their open house, which
Yes.
of course it was like table reservation. Like we could do a group at a time to come through. However, in the contract we structured that our closing date must be this date and we'll do a lease back to this date. So it was a perfect win for everybody. So
Now,
there's
that's
ways.
an awesome
Well,
strategy.
I'm telling everybody that.
Do
We're doing
leasebacks.
leasebacks like
I have seen a number of rentbacks.
Yes.
Lately.
Right.
yes.
That's a fantastic strategy.
Yes.
And this is a great illustration why you need a professional realtor
Yes.
to handle
Thank you.
your business.
Yeah.
Someone who really has been through the wars and
Yes.
knows what the options are. It also speaks to why you need a great loan partner like
Absolutely.
Guaranteed Rate Affinity. They have great products. They can satisfy any scenario.
There's a solution. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but you need the combination of a great agent
Yeah.
and a great lender to put that together.
Yes.
You really
Mhm.
do.
And that's why
Yeah.
I'm just so flattered to be a partner with you, Jim, Tracy, and especially Stevie, my partner. And I know she holds her breath with me at some times.
Yeah.
I have roller skates on for when I get up, so when it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Well, the feeling's mutual. The feeling's
You
mutual.
really do. Yeah, and that was my biggest concern is that, especially when we're working with these younger people that have families and what have you, and their move up. And I have somebody in my own family that's paying $75,000 over appraised value to get the house. Because that's the only,
Yes.
I mean, he had to write a really, really interesting contract and it had to be that. And then then he's doing a lease back on his and then on his current home. And they're doing that on the new home, they're letting the current owners stay there for a little bit longer. So you got all these families that are just working to try to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know? So if you've got that finesse because you've been doing this for long enough, and Laura and I have both been in the trenches, in the fire.
Right.
I lived through 2008, 9, 10, 11 in short sales.
Right.
And that's what my team had just rocked it
Sure.
out. Yeah, so this is the complete opposite.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
it's
And I just want to say a few words before we go into another subject. If we decide to close it up, I want to thank John Minio,
yes.
Oh,
who
sure.
has graciously allowed us to have this meeting.
Yeah, this is a beautiful restaurant.
Yes,
I can't wait.
He's been here since 1972.
Yeah.
He's located at 13490 Mason Road, and let's see here.
We're town and
Mason-
country.
Yeah, good old town and country, right
Yeah.
down the street from Home Sweet Home.
Yeah.
Locally owned, so we definitely support our local family businesses.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
whenever we do these table talks, we're always going to be at a local table so that we can help the community.
Help our
Absolutely.
neighbors.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
So, do you have any other questions, comments, concerns, things you want to ask Jim that?
I would love to touch back on the generational aspect
Yes.
of this inventory shortage and tell me if I'm right on or sideways or upside down. Okay? And this is how I've been explaining it to my clients, okay, my buyers. And when I'm pre-approving them and working, with Stevie and Laura, getting them ready to go out there and they get so excited to buy their house and I let them know, listen, it's hard work.
Yes.
It might take 5 contracts to get one to land, because in my opinion, we have more humans than we have houses. Okay, and the reason why that is, I've listened to a lot of mentors who are way smarter than me, but it's because we've got the 2 largest generations ever born in history in the market at the same time. You've got the baby boomer generation.
So where are the baby boomers going?
Well, right now they're living vibrant, healthy
Yes.
lives well into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So guess what? Those houses aren't really coming on the market.
Not
Okay?
like they used to.
Not like they used
Yes.
to. You've got people like me, my kids are in school. I tend to stay in our homes for 7, 8, 10, 15 years. Not a lot of people move every 3 to 5 years. I think back in
Isn't
the
it 13 years now? Yeah.
It's actually dropped though.
Oh,
It was
okay.
13.
It was 13. It's now.
And it's now getting closer to 10
Yeah.
and maybe
It still
even
was-
9.5, which it used to be every 7 years, and it went to 13. So
Yeah.
it is moving in another direction for the very reasons Tracy is identifying.
Right. But people are just staying in their houses longer than they used to.
Right.
And then you've got the millennial generation entering the market. So you've got the 2 largest generations in housing at the same time. And you couple that with the fact the market crash, the builders, the new construction in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, they were not building. They just ceased building. And you put those 3, things
The perfect storm,
together,
isn't it?
it really
Yeah.
is.
It
And
is.
so, I guess just time is what's going to fix this.
I think it's a cyclical business.
Right.
Mhm.
This is it sounds like a long time ago, but in 2011, which was that was the period of the depths of the recession, a great recession for housing. I used to go to office meetings and agents would come up to me and say, I don't want any more listings because I have so many listings I can't get them sold. We talk about month supply of inventory,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that basically is at the current rate of sales. If we never list another house, how long would it take to sell out?
Right.
And 6 months of inventory is a balanced market.
Correct.
Equal level of supply and demand. Well, back in 2011, we had a year's worth of inventory. We had 18
It
months
was
of inventory,
painful.
depending upon the price point or the area. Well, today, in every market in St. Louis, it's about 1 month.
Yeah.
And if you factor in the fact that some houses will never sell because they're overpriced or they're not in condition, to sell.
Correct.
And every house can sell if it's priced right.
Exactly.
But it's not conditioned properly and it's priced too high. We have days of inventory in some markets, in some price points. Certainly just a couple weeks of inventory. And so that demand that Traci's talking about, these millennials and others who want to move and want to buy their first house, in some cases, it really is kind of a perfect storm. Because 1 month of inventory.
Have you
That's just
seen
unbelievable.
how many apartment buildings have gone up in the last 18 months
They're
or so?
popping up everywhere.
Popping up everywhere.
They are.
So they'll have somewhere to live. People will have
Right.
somewhere to live. But
When I'm setting expectations with our clients, I tell them, I might be inflating the number, but for every one house, there's 7 buyers.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
7 buyers.
Right.
Yeah. So we have got to be ready, and we can't wait till Thursday at 4:00 to go see
No.
a house.
No.
I'm like, you need to go in late, or we need to go for lunch, or what have you. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one piece of it. If there's one piece of advice for a buyer, it's obviously get pre-approved
Yes.
with a great
yes,
lender,
Yes.
and know what you can afford,
yes.
Right.
and have it documented
Yep.
clearly. Here's what I can afford, and then be ready to act, not quickly, at light speed.
Right.
Because my son is a millennial, and a lot of it. He bought his first house a couple of years ago. He was fortunate to get in. He's only 27 years old, but a lot of his friends are starting to buy.
Right.
And many of them have written on 7 properties,
Oh, absolutely.
8 properties, 9 properties.
Yeah.
Most of them finally got the home, got in a home, may not have been their first choice, but that's pretty common. It's pretty common today. So it's really important for buyers to really get a mindset that if I really want to buy, I have to move quickly.
Well, and we can't help them unless they do their job and do their due diligence. I always tell my clients, I said, when you go to a job interview, you go prepared.
Right.
How is this any different? You take a
Yeah.
resume, correct?
Right.
Get the pre-approval so we know what we're looking at.
Right. And the thing I would advise sellers is, while prices are going up, don't get greedy.
Right.
Don't assume that your house is the best one.
And it's the only one.
And
on
it's the
block.
only
Yes.
one, who's got the improvements. Everybody falls in love with their own house. They've lived there. Maybe they've raised their family, but if nothing else, they have a lot of emotional attachment. And so people think, well, I heard Jim Dohr say the prices went up 11% in the city, or they went up 8.5% in St. Charles County, or whatever. And so my house must be worth more than anyone's ever paid in the neighborhood before. So it's still important for people to price their house correctly, but also have it in great condition. I mean, tip-top condition. That doesn't mean houses can't sell if they're not conditioned well, but you know better than anyone else. Buyers are looking for perfect.
HGTV, thank you very much.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, we can think of
That's right.
Yeah.
Instant gratification, and we want it perfect.
Want it perfect, flawless. That's not realistic. But you have this conflict that exists where buyers want perfection and sellers obviously want top dollar, which they of course always want. But you have to be careful when you talk about averages. On average, prices went up 9%, 10%, whatever the case may be. That may not be true for your house.
Right.
For a variety of reasons. It could be location. Maybe they back to a busy street. All the situations that affect value. So it's that's why, again, you need a professional who knows what they're talking about and really can guide both the buyer and the seller through the process. Someone like you, Laura.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, what I'm seeing already is that agents are making assumptions that they can list a house $25,000 over probably what it should be listed at. So I'm seeing sometimes in the inventory, like, I'm sorry, agent, what were you thinking? And I know the market's increasing, but you got a little ahead of yourself, and you're actually putting your seller in harm's way by doing that.
That's correct.
Well, and so much of what we do, obviously you have to work with a true professional, but so much of what we do is setting proper expectations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Before the transaction, during the transaction, as you head into closing, we have to set proper expectations. And that's where experience
Yeah.
comes in, right? You
Yeah.
know, there's got to be 120 years of experience. I'm not
Well,
kidding.
pretty darn good,
You know,
Yeah.
I'm saying combined.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you know, experience has so much to do with that, and of course, you guys just have years and years
Well, we love what
where
we
you
do.
wouldn't put a seller in harm's way like that.
Never.
You know.
Never. And we really, truly, and what I'm really loving about what we do for a living and because of all our experience is that Laura and I are really coaching people through the process. And it's all about setting expectations. You know, it's all about setting expectations. And because we both have done this for so very long, I just feel really comfortable teaching people. And you have to be direct.
Yeah.
You have to understand a personality side, but you really have to be direct with these people because you don't want them to lose, especially when you have a client that's trying to move closer to their father because he has cancer. I mean, when their why is that powerful, you want to make sure that you're just doing the best you can to serve that family. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this was another great table talk series.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Jim, for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you
Oh,
so
my
much.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You are
Yeah,
welcome.
Yeah.
so appreciate you fitting us into your schedule.
Sure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
And Tracy, again, thanks for
Yes,
your
Miss Tracy.
guru
Yes.
finance
You
knowledge.
do the money, you do the houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I
Jen?
just want to thank John Video again
Yeah,
for being so
truly.
gracious to allow us to have this
Yes.
great old table talk series at his phenomenal restaurant.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay, thanks again.
And thank you.
See you next
Thank
time.
you. Bye.